Yo, what's up everyone? Mike Hill, the Wholesaling Titan here, and super excited about today's video, which comes by way of popular request. So thank you guys for all the comments, messages, inspiration, and for engaging with me, all these ideas. It's very much appreciated. So with that said, what I want to do today is show you a wholesale deal from start to finish. Sometimes my videos are about a singular topic, but today I want to show you the entire process so you can see, how I got the deals, see some emails back and forth, listen in on some phone calls, see the contract, see how I marketed the deal, and then how we ultimately closed. Now, there are a few reasons why I chose this deal in particular. I really wanted to find a deal that pretty much anyone can do that had relatively low barriers to entry. And I'm pretty confident that no matter your experience or financial situation, 99% of the people watching this could have done this exact same deal. I just happened to find it first. So this is a deal that comes straight from the MLS. Now, if you aren't familiar, that stands for Multiple Listing Service. It's basically where realtors post properties for sale. Now, if you don't have direct access to the MLS, you can simply use online sites like Zillow.com or Realtor.com, and they feed their inventory from multiple MLS platforms. Now, I had a student of mine tell me last week that he spoke to another wholesaler who told him, you can't do listed deals or that cash buyers won't buy them. And by the end of this video, hopefully you'll have irrefutable evidence that that simply isn't true. In my experience, most of my buyers don't care where my deals come from. They just want to know that they can make money on the deal. And then the next question I get with that is, well, if the deals are on Zillow, why don't buyers just go there and get them directly? And the answer is, some of them do. But if you think about the avatar of a lot of my cash buyers, doctors, lawyers, professionals, do they have time to monitor the MLS on a daily basis, make offers, follow up, negotiate? Even if they do, most of the people there, they're happy to pay you for it, right? Another reason I like to show these kind of deals because they're applicable and appropriate for the largest audience. They're not particularly time consuming. The inventory is plentiful. And again, pretty much anyone can do it. I like to call this the low-hanging fruit. It's something that beginners can do, again, without spending any money. It's something that experienced investors can, just add a couple more deals a month, and it's easy to outsource as well. Another quick thing, I'm going to shout out my beginners for a second, is that, another reason I like this, because let's say you're starting with paid marketing. Now, when you start your first direct mail campaign or whatever paid marketing you're doing, that's awesome. That's absolutely the way to go. I mean, paid marketing typically produces better deals. They typically have, less competition, and the spreads are usually larger, so you'll make more profit. But with that, you have to have, obviously, the funds to get started, but also there's kind of, it takes a little bit of time to build up that momentum. And so, most deals that let's say you're doing direct marketing, you're not going to get a deal typically on the very first offer you make or, the first round of marketing. So let's say you send out your first direct mail campaign. You might get a deal this week. It can absolutely happen, but you might also not get one for several months. Could be a couple months of mailing. So, what are you going to do in the meantime? And that's where I really like these type of deals because we're talking about millions of properties on the MLS. So if you know what you're looking for, you can really just go through and there's just, a ton of inventory there and you can just go ahead and look, and it really provides some stability to your business if you're brand new. And so you can kind of count on reliable, steady income coming in every month. Again, it doesn't cost you anything. It does take some time, but not terribly time consuming. And then, again, it doesn't cost money. And then you take the profits from those deals and don't go spend it all. You take it and reinvest it into your marketing and then use it towards paid marketing. So then your business, go ahead, your business feeds itself. So with that intro there, let's go ahead and get started. Slide this bad boy back a little bit. And first off, I want to talk to you about habits really quickly. Now, a lot of you have heard me talk about habits before. You've probably heard me use this analogy, but it's worth repeating. I'm going to say it again. And I like the analogy of someone who has never done push-ups before and they want to get a more developed chest by doing push-ups. You could get super inspired and say, hey, I'm going to go to the gym and do 1,000 push-ups. You're not going to see results, most likely. You're probably just going to get really sore, really burnt out, never want to do push-ups again, and your body won't change. Let's contrast that with someone who's never done push-ups before, but they say, I can only do 5 or maybe 10, but I'm going to commit to doing 5 or 10 every single day for 7 days. And then by the second week, they're going to do 10 or 15 a day, third week, 20 a day. That person will not only see results, you'll see physical results, they'll get stronger. The process will get a lot easier for them, and they will also see those results. And a lot of times it becomes a more enjoyable process. So I say that because your habits are everything. You want especially when you're using this method of making offers, you want it to be almost an unconscious thing, kind of the way you wake up and brush your teeth in the morning. And I'm sure I've said that before, but like I said, it's worth repeating. So ideally, you want to be doing this like a good 5 days a week. But let's say you only have Monday, Wednesday, Friday available. Well, then do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So this is what my habit kind of looks like. I wake up, I jump into my CRM. Now we're looking at ReFX here. I'm not gonna go super detailed on this one because I don't want to waste your time, and I do have some video, showing me you using that system. But I do highly recommend a CRM for a lot of my beginning students that come in without large budgets. Typically, once they have a certain amount, this is one of the first things I have them do. It's very good to keep you organized, to actually make your offers, just follow up, stay organized, and it does a lot of other cool features. You can find cash buyers in here. There are a lot of lists. I'll show you that in just a second, and it automates a lot of the process in terms of making your actual offers. So I'm on the main search screen, and you can see there's a lot of really cool features in here. I also use this program to not only do the offers with the MLS stuff, but also to pull lists for direct mail. So a lot of stuff you might pay for in list source, for example, you see there's stuff with public record, for sale, for rent, for sale by owner, foreclosures, mortgages. They have probate stuff in here. You can find vacant properties, and you can build lists off of that stuff. Again, this ReFX, it is, as far as I know, only available in like 4 states now. Florida for sure, California, Maryland, New Jersey, but they are looking to go nationwide, so be on the lookout for that. Maybe even added stuff recently. If you're interested, I have a discount code. It's 4409. That'll save you about $50 a month. So I'm going to show you just how I do the more or less automated offers with the MLS stuff. Like I said, there's another video I have with more detailed stuff. But you can save for data. We'll just take a look at for sale. Let's say we want to find some foreclosure stuff. We'll just look at foreclosed. We'll look in Palm Beach County. And you can see I can put in way more details here. I can do it bedrooms. Most of my buyers prefer at least 3 twos. Bathrooms. We can look at this stuff. Year built. Maybe you don't want properties from the 20s. Typically, stuff that sells best for me is like 1950s and up. As long as they're concrete block. You can look at days on market. If there's HOAs, some buyers don't really mess with HOA fees that are higher than a certain amount, depending on what city you're looking for. And then this is some of the coolest stuff here. You can actually search by, not only the value, but based on the comps, but by equity, which is pretty money. Of course, it's imperfect. People can do stuff like, refinance and whatever, but it's pretty good. Gotten some good stuff that way. So for now, I'm not going to go into any details. Let's just say we're looking at for sale stuff that's in foreclosure in Palm Beach County. And so we just jump in here. Just click the first one that comes up. That's a pretty cool system. If you want, you can click this additional links button. It'll actually take you to, you can see the actual MLS listing. You can look at the comps, which is pretty cool. There's some filter stuff. So for example, if I'm going to look at really good comps, I can check by subdivision, filter those down to get an idea of what this thing is worth. And then kind of, look, kind of deep dive into the comps and look, we can see all this stuff. This is built in 83. So some of our comps are built in 83, 76. Those look like pretty good comps. The distance, they're all really close. They're all in the same subdivision. So, it looks like this is a pretty accurate value. Let's say 155 without going too deep on this stuff. So it's as simple as this. All you do is you want to hit the follow-up button, which basically will go ahead and put this into your follow-up system. So you put it in as buying, so you add properties. So it'll just add that right there. Then, you do this several times. So again, if you're going to do 5 offers a day or 10 offers a day, you'll just go back to your search results. Boom, 5, or 10 that you really like. Then we go to our follow-up system. And one thing I really love about this system that saves you a lot of time is that ReFX will actually go ahead and pull all of the contact information into the system. So there'll be, because it pulls from the MLS, the listing agent's email information is already in there. So it pulls it in automatically. And then it's just a matter of, and it's either one we just put in, but we'll just pick the first one here. I think this is it, sorry. And then we're just going to hit docs. So we're going to send, forgot something. We have to put an offer in. So again, let's say the listed price, we said this is worth 155. I'm going to put an offer of 105. So you just type that in, and then you would do that. Let's say if you had 10 properties, you'd go ahead and do that. And what was I saying? Yeah, we do hit docs here, And then again, you're just gonna put in, these are pre-saved templates. So you'll just put in a couple different variables. So you put your deposit, your closing date, how many inspection days you want, stuff like that, and just click send, and then it will send them all. We'll fill them out as individual contracts, again with the variables, so it'll change by property and stuff like that, to the listing agent or whoever's email is on file. So that's how I start the process. This is what my day looks like. This will take you less than an hour, and you can do 10, 20 properties in that time. So another thing I want to mention is that folks always say, well, let me start off this way. This is the only business I know where you can have a 99% fail rate and still do very well. So let's say I send off 100 offers. Sounds like a lot, but really it's only 20 offers a day in a 5-day work week. You can see how fast this is. You can do 20 hours offers in less than an hour easily. You send them off. Let's say of those 100, 95 of them you can't get under contract. 5 you get under contract. 4 of them you offer too high, or you or your buyer went and inspected and the numbers just don't work and you cancel them. 1 of them works, you do the deal, you make $10,000. So you fail 99% of the time, and in 1 week's time, you can make 10K. And but again, it's not gonna happen in your first 100 offers or every single time. But if you stay consistent with it, then that's how it really works. You just got to be consistent and be on this thing daily, and then of course follow up on your offers. I want to oversimplify that, but I mean, if you look at the math, it kind of makes sense. Okay, so that's just like the habit, the process. So now I'm going to bring you in on where we are in this particular deal. So I did the same process, and also you didn't see it, but when I hit the send button, I have different templates for sending an email. So I'm not going to show you the actual email. I like to be very transparent, but what I know is a lot of people just copy and paste it verbatim, which has happened to me before, and then it makes, if the same agent gets the same email, it looks very spammy, you can get kind of blackballed. It's like if someone had a really good Tinder profile and then like 50 dudes just copied it, it wouldn't have the same magic. But essentially what that email says is, it says, hey, my name is such and such. It's a quick introduction. I'm an investor. I'm really interested in this area. I'm going to do whatever. I see it needs a little bit of work. And then you could say, hey, if you didn't even send with the contract, you could just say, hey, call me, or you could ask a couple of questions about it. That helps to, start the introduction. But again, with this fast method where you have to be making offers, written offers anyway, I put in there, you tell the agent how it's going to be beneficial for them. Look, I'm an investor. I'm looking to buy multiple properties. I'm not working with a realtor, so that means that they make double the commission they would normally make. Attached, please find my offer. Please review it. Give me a shout. So that's basically what you want to say. And so that's exactly what I did. And then now we're going to go ahead and jump into my email, and I'll show you the email response from the agent, and I'll also pull up the contract so we can take a look at what the terms were and what it looked like and how she responded, and then we'll kind of go from there. Okay, so just went back through my REIFax history. We pulled up the contract. It's another good thing. It's just really good to help you organize, especially when you're doing follow-up. Instead of remembering, hey, what did I offer the first time, or what did I say to the agent? You can track a full history. So, when you get back in touch with the person or the seller, you can go back and see what was the last offer, what did we talk about, stuff like that. So anyway, this is the actual initial contract that I sent. Again, this is to an agent. You can see the offer price was made at $135,000, so $135,000. I don't remember the comps off the top of my head, but I know I have them, so we'll look at those a little bit later. But I know they range like 200 to 230 or so. But I did look at the pictures, which you can do again on one of the REIFax links, and that links into the MLS. And so I did notice that this stuff did need a lot of work. It's another thing when you're doing MLS listed properties or listed properties, you really want to look for distressed homes, so things that are physically distressed. Whereas with a lot of my paid marketing, my direct mail, I'm looking more for situations, motivated sellers that are motivated by situations such as job loss, like someone can't pay their mortgage. That's a situation. And of course, there's a lot of overlap there. But it's just easier to kind of detect on the MLS, especially when you can see pictures and there's like a freaking hole in the roof or tarp on the roof, and the windows are boarded up. That's the money. That's what you want to be looking for. So anyway, it was $135,000. The terms was an initial deposit of $1,000. Pretty standard. One thing I'll just point out here is that I made this not assignable. Now, I do have a video where I talk about step by step how to fill this out. You can check that for maybe a more detailed response. And on my website, wholesalingmike.com, I actually have a downloadable samples of a fully filled out contract with some commentary on there. One as if you are the buyer and one as if you are the seller. So feel free to check that out as well. But one thing people ask me and say, if you're trying to flip the property, why do you mark may not assign? And so there are two reasons. I mean, obviously it's pretty much always better to have an assignable contract. So at least you have the option, because even if you want to double close, you can have an assignable contract and still double close. Let's say you wanted to not disclose your fee or something like that. But the reason I put this here is because there is an inverse relationship between assignability and getting your offer accepted. So typically the way I do it is that, if something looks like a really good deal, or I feel like there's going to be high levels of competition, or it has not been on the market very long, I want to make my contract not assignable because it increases the chance and the probability of me getting my contract assigned. If it's been on market for 180 days and nobody's touched it, it's probably not a big deal for you to go ahead and make it assignable. But if you and I have identical contracts and yours is assignable and mine's not, I'm gonna look like the more serious buyer. So the other thing, knowing that, I can either just go ahead and double close it, or what I do here in Florida is I have these I always buy in a land trust, and so I have a video on that, and there's a way to almost kind of like a loophole where it's not technically an assignment, but basically you buy in the land trust and then you assign the beneficial interest and resign as a trustee of the trust. So basically on the deed, the owner never changes, but you're basically just selling the trust. So you wouldn't call it an assignment, but it achieves the same goal as an assignment. So that's one thing I can do. The other thing that I would do is that get this under contract just to have control. And remember what I say is that negotiation is never done. So then even once I have the control, I can go back to the agent. You can give an excuse. Hey, you know what? I was going to buy this in a trust, but I might want to take it in my personal name, or I might want to put it in my LLC, or my partner and I might be forming a new LLC. I don't know how we want to take title just yet. So I'm actually going to request that we make this assignable. You can even click make assignable, or may assign but not be released from liability. It makes them more comfortable, and just submit that as an addendum. Now, if the seller signs the addendum, and if you give that kind of backstory, I think 9 times out of 10 they will. But if they don't, then you still have the contract, a valid contract, and then you just go ahead with the double closing or whatever. So again, all the other terms are pretty much standard. I put it with a 7-day description. 7-day inspection period. And what else in here? And the only other terms that I usually put in most of my contracts: property to be delivered free and clear. If there exists any open or needed permits, seller shall at seller's sole expense close any and all permits violations and cure any liens. Inspection period shall be in business days. You don't need that, but a lot of times I put it because then you kind of get a longer inspection period. You get the weekend there. It just makes it easier because that's a time where you have to sell, where your deposit is not at risk, okay? So that's the physical contract that I sent off with that email that I told you about that basically says, hey, I'm an investor, I want to buy your property. And now let's take a look at the response. Pretty simple stuff here. February 26th. Yeah, pretty simple stuff here. She just said, Michael, please call me regarding your offer to discuss it and the property. Thank you. So I actually, I guess, had the foresight to record that call. I'm going to start doing a lot more of those. Also, that'll be something. I'll have a lot more of those exclusively for my students in our mentoring program. We'll talk about that later. You can send me an email if you're interested. But for now, I do want to post some more of these out here on the channel. So let's go ahead and jump into that call, and you guys can listen in on that. All right, so real quick before we jump into the call, one more thing that I wanted to mention is that when you're crafting this email that accompanies the written offer, I kind of gave you some pointers about, just saying that you want to introduce yourself. But if there's anything that makes you unique, you should absolutely put it in there. So instead of just being an average, Joe Blow, you could be any dude from the internet, hitting this agent up. And especially nowadays, I find that agents are a little bit more skeptical. Go ahead and put it in there. So, if you grew up in the area, feel free to say that. If you've done rehabs, or you have experience, or maybe your dad owns a construction company, I don't know, feel free to put that in there. I have a student right now, when he first wrote up his email, it was pretty generic. So we talked a little bit so I could kind of help him flesh it out. And he's a U.S. veteran. He's worked in the Army. So I said, you know what? It may not be related to houses, but that gives you such credibility. The fact that you serve your country, it says something to your character, lets people know that you're serious. And so you should go ahead and put that in there. So now his email, hi, my name is such and such. I run a veteran owned and operated company, blah, blah, blah. And it goes on from there. Again, if you have a family owned and operated company, again, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're definitely going to get the deal, but it does give add some personality to it. It does give you credibility. So anything that you can kind of drop in there to separate yourself from any other offer, as well as, again, make sure you mention why this is going to be in the agent's best interest. Remember, most listing agents get deals that come by way of a buyer's agent. It means they're splitting their commission, half of their money. Imagine if someone took half of your paycheck, right? So you want to let them know, I'm not working with another realtor. Think about the experience of a realtor. Oftentimes, the people that they work with, they may be buying one house every 5-10 years or something like that. You're letting them know, hey, I want to buy multiple houses every month. So again, you're kind of making it in their best interest. So those are just some things you also want to add to that initial email where you're introducing yourself and presenting your offer. So with that, now we can jump into the call. Oh, what up, everyone? Mike Hill, the Wholesaling Titan here. And what I'm doing now is just making some follow-up phone calls. So I kind of want to bring you on this journey. First thing you're going to notice is I always have a legal pad when I'm on any calls. Post-it notes will not do it. Yes, I'm going to transfer this stuff into my CRM later, but I find that it's just a lot easier to jot notes down, take a little bit old school, as opposed to trying to type, while I'm speaking to a potential customer. Okay, so real quick before we jump into the call, just a few things I want to mention. First off, you'll notice when I first start the call, it's a little bit awkward. And again, I've made probably hundreds of thousands of phone calls. And to this day, a lot of times there are awkward moments, especially when you first get on. It's fine. Don't let it stop you. Just kind of embrace the awkwardness and just roll with it. You'll get through it. So that's the first thing. Next thing I want to mention is that you'll notice, I'm a huge proponent of scripts. I talk to you guys about it. I talk to my students about it. I put a huge emphasis on practicing your scripts, practicing with a partner, practicing in the mirror. It's so important. But you'll notice in this particular phone call, I'm actually not using my typical script. Now, why is it? I do have it pulled up and I'm always ready to fire it off. But if you'll notice, this listing agent is talking a lot. So one thing, remember, in any type of sale, and I'm not just talking about when you're selling properties, but when you're trying to get properties under contract, you are a salesperson. You're selling yourself. And a very important part of sales is listening, being a good listener. So I'm getting information about the property that's going to help me dictate how I want to make the offer and see, where we can negotiate. Also, I'm getting intel so I can present that to my buyers a little bit later on. At the same time, while I'm listening and being a good listener, I'm building rapport. I'm building comfort. I'm building familiarity with this agent. So again, it's raising my credibility up, increasing my chance of getting the deal, and so on and so forth. Now, another note on this whole script piece. Again, you won't really see it in this video, but if you don't mind for a sec, I'm gonna kind of hype myself up a little bit and tell you, again, I have this huge thing with scripts. I think you have to absolutely have a script. And then I kind of want to talk to you about how I develop my script. So again, a lot of you know I have my mentor. So I paid $10,000 for my mentoring program, and he gave me a lot of really good information as well as his scripts. I've also done a lot of additional training outside of that. So I got Jordan Belfort's straight line persuasion system. I spent like $1,000 on that. It's a great program from the Wolf of Wall Street, regardless of what you think about the guy. There's some real gold in there. Obviously, I'm a huge Grant Cardone fan. I'm a 10Xer, so I've invested over $5,000 in Grant Cardone's training programs. And, just kind of learn from there and kind of put all of this stuff together. And then I've been doing this stuff and, making phone calls and being in the trenches and learning the hard way and getting, yelled at and cursed at and, not getting deals and having things not go my way and really analyzing that. So, I got to a point where I started taking notes on all my calls. Then I started recording my calls and then listening to them, playing them back and saying, okay, this is where you messed up. This is what you could have said better. I've asked sellers for feedback on calls and stuff like that. And then I've taken, and I say all that only to be transparent and give you a feel for, saying I'm not smart enough to come up with all this stuff myself, So saying, I know people who are successful, success leaves clues. Rather than try and reinvent the wheel, I'm really taking everything that I learned from all these, guys who are superstars in their field, and then kind of putting that together with my own personal experience to make, scripts that are specific to wholesaling. And now, I don't want to shoot myself in the foot in the sense of I don't want to jinx it, right? You can't please anyone, but I have been selling these scripts. I launched them in, I think it was October of 2018. I've sold hundreds and hundreds of them along with my Overcoming Objections ebook, which I highly recommend you check out. And to this date, this video, July 2019, I have not had not one refund. So that's kind of I know it's going to probably happen now, but that's kind of my thing. That's one thing I'm very proud of, and they really do work. I can throw up like a sample at some point. I'll edit it in here, but you can see it's not just the words. There are things in there that tell you like when to use certain types of tonality, how to present, how to be, there are times where it's appropriate to be excited. There are times where, again, Jordan Belfort system, when you want someone to really pay attention, you can lower your voice and really just say, almost whisper. Kind of slow it down. So there are little things in there that'll really help you. If you want to check them out, I usually sell them $97, but as of this recording right now, they're available for less than $20, and you can grab those at www.wholesalingScripts.com. So check those out, and then let's go ahead and jump into the call. Hi, my name is Mike Hill. I'm returning your call. I sent you the offer yesterday on East Street.
Hey, Mike, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. How about yourself?
Not too bad. So I wanted to discuss the offer. I want to discuss the property itself.
Okay.
Obviously, you saw the pictures online.
Right.
The property, excuse me. The property has code violations on it. I don't know when you throw out offers, if you do any due diligence before you throw them out, but there are violations on the property. There was a $75 violation back in May that in August turned into a lien. That lien is $75 per day.
Okay.
The violation is for the awnings and for the paint.
Okay.
The paint job and the exterior. The seller is not carrying the violation. The seller will be in a state. It's not going to cure the violation. So when you take title, there would be an exception on title. That being said, my assumption is, because I'm marketing to investors, I'm like, John Q. home seller, I'm obviously not marketing to.
Right.
You're probably going to gut the hell out of the house. Most definitely that carport would be enclosed, I'm sure, because why would anybody want to take it as a 2-bedroom when you can make it a 3-bedroom?
Right.
And years and years and years ago, that carport, I'm told, was a bedroom. I was told that by somebody else who had lived in the neighborhood because a lot of those carports had been enclosed. According to the city, it's possible that, one, I will tell you that, if you've done this enough, you know that those are violations. The rolling violations can be mitigated.
Correct, yeah.
I would never, when I'm selling a property, say guarantee it. But generally speaking, once you start pulling permits that would overwrite the work that you're going to do, like you need to do paint. Well, I'm about to add on a room and, take this off and blah, 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 and this and that. A lot of times it mitigates that. But as it stands, the property will come with the violations.
Okay. And do you have a total figure for that number on the fines?
Yeah. As of today,
Mm-hmm.
As of today, it is $16,500. I am told by their attorneys, which I'm a little unclear about, and I'm waiting to hear back from the city because it didn't make much sense to me. There was $34.50 paid to clear 2/3 of the violations. That in itself made me scratch my head, but I'm trying to get that kind of a confirmation from the city if possible.
Right, okay.
If that's the case, we're looking at $13.5. That's as of today.
Okay.
Excuse me. Sorry. I apologize. I'm completely lying. As of today, it would be $13,650. If we are talking about as of your 4/5 closing date, I'm using a rolling calendar, obviously. It's 15.5 plus $25 in court fees, $425 in administrative costs, leaving it to $16,950. Now, the attorney for the seller says that $34.50 was paid to clear violations. That would bring that down to $13.5 as of 4/5.
Okay.
Now, do I think that a lot of that can be mitigated? Absolutely. I'm sure you guys do that all day long.
Yeah.
My assumption is, given based upon the way you wrote the offer, you do that all day long. Am I going to guarantee it? No, I'd be a fool.
Right.
But again, the trick thing is one of the issues is for the awnings, which will probably end up being removed by you altogether.
Right. Yep.
And the other is for paint, which you guys will, I'm quite sure, will do once you finish the property to begin. Once you finish the construction job to begin with, and you'll have to pull permits for that. Now, I was not able to get in touch with, her name, I'm trying to remember her name. I do have it. Karen Stokes, who is the compliance officer for that area, to find out if, as soon as you start pulling permits, will that usurp these other things, or if nothing else, will it stop the rolling violation? In other words, at least stop the time that you guys might be accruing a violation, making it just less money to mitigate. And I haven't heard back from her yet. She's who one would speak to as far as that's concerned.
Okay, and it was Karen
Stokes. The property is completely as Karen Stokes.
Okay.
And if you want, I can email you her information so that you can contact her as well.
Sure, that would be great.
Absolutely. The property is as is. So have you seen the photographs online?
I've looked through the photographs, yes.
Yeah, so you get to keep all those goodies inside
I was just going to
the house.
say, it's a good amount of, a lot of treasure in there.
That's a good word for it. Yes, there's a lot of treasure in there. You know what there is? I will tell you this. If you look beyond some of the more questionable magazines that he has in there, some of it seems to be a little bit historical. Other than that, some of it's a little offensive. Either way, we just look beyond it all, and I just say, it's real estate.
Right. Yeah, we've seen some things, so.
Yeah. And everything, the personal representative for the property is doing nothing. I mean, literally what you see is what you get. If you want to inspect because you want to know what you're getting yourselves into, go right ahead. She's remedying zero.
Okay, gotcha.
So again, that's why if you'll notice, the word investor appears all over my listing.
Right.
So I wanted you to be fully aware. I wanted to have this conversation, not just say, okay, zippity-doo-dah, and that's it. I wanted you to be fully aware, as far as the condition of the inside and also the violations. Now, if you want, I will hold off on the offer until you make an attempt to try to reach this Karen Stokes yourself, if you want to be a little more educated, potentially on the on what you may be inheriting. And again, I find it hard to believe. I've mitigated, so I know what it is. Obviously, you've mitigated because you do these. Clearly, this is not the first house you've seen in this condition.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, it would be unlikely that the cost will be anywhere near this. If anything, I know that they usually don't. They won't waive the recording fee, the court admin costs. They always try to get you on that. God forbid they lose $425, whatever. And the rest is probably not that difficult to mitigate. And again, if you file permits to say things like remove the awnings and whatever demo work you're doing and blah, 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 it may end up by default mitigating these because you can't paint what's no longer existing. If you're going to remove a wall that's no longer existing. Can't fix an awning if it's coming down, kind of a thing. And again, I'm telling you, like you don't know this already. This is kind of what you do. So,
right. And I find in our experience,
so
you're usually a little bit better about it when it's something like paint or a paint and awning. So I'd be confident in that as well.
Yeah, I really find it hard to believe that those are going to stay, that they're going to, attach that to the property after the fact. But that being said, I don't know about how your title company works. I do have a title company, but if you want to use yours, that's fine. But what they'll do is they'll give you you'll get title, but there'll be an exception on title.
Right.
Again, I'm assuming you've done that many times before, if you've
Correct.
purchased homes like this before.
Yeah.
So let me do this while I'm, gung ho to say, hey, yeah, let's move forward, blah, blah, blah. My thought is that if you want to call Karen Stokes, or at least do your due diligence before we move forward, I'm okay with that.
Okay, that'd be great. I'd love to reach out to her and try and get her on the phone. Ideally, well, it's a little late, but if not tonight, tomorrow.
Yeah, it would have to be early tomorrow or after 3 o'clock today. And I have an email address for her as well, so if either or, and I'll give you the violation number. That way, I mean, it just makes it easier for them. The easier you make it for them, the more they'll want to help you anyhow. So I'll give you the violation number even though you already have the address.
I do have two questions for you.
Uh-huh.
One, I wasn't sure, is there central air in here?
There is not.
Yeah, I kind of figured as much. We're just kind of making some
assumptions. Yeah, if you look on the listing, it says no central air and it has gelatin windows, no central air. It has wall units.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah,
AC wall units, so to speak.
Okay, and no ductwork.
I'm sure that changes the number. To the best of my knowledge, I didn't see it. This seller knows nothing. The seller knows nothing about the property itself.
Okay, and as far as the probate status, I'm assuming that is taken care of, right?
There has been an assignation of a probate. However, I am going to have to make changes to the contract. Things like I have to have a probate court. No matter what, probate court has to approve a file.
Okay.
So the two things that we have to do in the additional terms is the whole free and clear and seller at seller's expense, blah, blah, blah. That all has to go. That has to be struck.
Okay.
Because it's being literally sold as is, including with violations that we're disclosing. The second thing is I'll have to add verbiage in there that says that the contract is subject to probate court approval, because no matter what, when you're probating a file, the court has to approve the file, regardless of where you are in the probate status. So that has to go through as well. So do I know that it will close in 30 days, or in your case, March 4th? I can't say one way or the other until I submit this to the probate attorney and have her tell me, quite frankly, what she thinks.
Okay.
Okay, so in the meantime, I'm going to respond off of this email. I'm going to send you the contact information for who I contacted for code violation.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Sounds
cool.
like a plan.
Let me know if you have any questions, okay?
All right. Thank you so much, and I will follow up with you as soon as I speak to Karen tomorrow.
Cool. All right, thanks.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye. All right, people, proof of funds letters. Let's talk about them. So in this particular deal, I have proof of funds, so I can show that. This might be and probably is the biggest sticking point if you're a beginner. So here's the thing you got to understand about proof of funds letters. The only true good proof of funds letter that is going to work 100% of the time is a bank statement with your name on it. Now that said, you don't need your proof of funds letter to work all the time. So when I get questions and comments and students ask me and I give them different resources, I got a video showing you some free resources, some paid resources, and then they use them and it doesn't work. They're like, Mike, this doesn't work. And it's, again, the idea is not for you to do deals without proof of funds. It's like, hey, eventually you want to get to the point where you have funds in your bank account to show. But in the beginning, yeah, you want to, there's some deals that you'll be able to do without a proof of funds or by just using a proof of funds letter. So that's what I want to get you to do in the, kind of in the beginning when you're first getting started. So the idea here is, again, it's not going to work all the time. And so you just kind of have to, kind of work the volume and just keep making. That's why I always say you got to keep making offers, make offers, and eventually someone will accept that. Because while, again, the only real proof of funds letter that works 100% is your bank statement, the thing you got to understand is there are certain times where a seller will be very strict about proof of funds. And that might be at the discretion of the seller, at the discretion of the real estate agent that they're working with, or if it's a bank, they're working, an asset manager is reviewing all the documents, so they might be a little bit more strict. But in many cases, it's more or less just a screening process. Again, I talk about it a little bit more in the proof of funds video on my YouTube channel, so I won't go too deep into the detail here. But you got to think about it. One thing is that it's not necessarily a prerequisite for doing the deal. So you can even say, hey, I'm on the road right now, just send me back the executed contract and then I'll send you the proof of funds. At that point, once you get the executed contract, you can send them one of those free proof of funds letters that you can download just by Google searching. And at that point, even if they're like, no, we don't like this, well, you already have an executed agreement, which is not contingent on having a proof of funds letter, so it still works. You're still in the deal. Another thing is that, you got to just try, because in some cases, let's say you're working with an agent, maybe the property's not getting much action, or maybe they just want to show the seller that, hey, look, I'm getting offers, or maybe they're just like, man, fuck it, I might make 6% on this. Let me just see. Worst case, this guy is going to cancel the deal in 3 days, but in the meantime, I'll take backup offers. Or maybe they might know that you're going to flip and say, hey, maybe this person will sell it for me. I'll give them a shot. Or one thing I also talk about a lot is your demeanor, the way that you come across. So you want to come across as though you're experienced. And again, I give some samples of that in other videos, so make sure you go and watch that. But if you'll notice, oftentimes in the call here, the agent is saying things to me like, hey, I'm sure you guys have done this before. I'm sure you do this all the time. And she says it, if you listen, several times. I've never done business with this agent. I've never given her proof of that. The only reason she says that to me is just simply based on the way that I type my email. The initial one where I sent the contract over. So sometimes I'll even do things like use a certain type of vernacular. For example, I say, hey, I got to get my GC in there. That's general contractor. If you're not in the business, you wouldn't necessarily know that. So again, just by educating yourself, you can kind of make yourself sound a little bit more professional. I give the example a lot of times, like, if someone like a Robert Kiyosaki or Grant Cardone or Donald Trump, something, their communication style will instantly let you know that they're more experienced, to the point where you probably won't even ask for a proof of funds letter than if you were dealing with someone who's buying their very first real estate property. So on that note, I can put a couple links in here. You can also Google search, find some of the free stuff. Again, the conversion rate won't be that great, but if that's what you got and that's all you can do and work with, then that's what you got. There's another one that is a paid proof of funds letter that, again, it's not 100%, but the conversion rate will be significantly better because it provides a bank statement. So it's got your name, and then, again, it's essentially a hard money loan, but it's got your name and then a bank statement that accompanies it. I'll put that link in the description as well. And then the other thing you can do is contact a hard money lender and say, listen, I'm a wholesaler. I'm getting properties under contract. When my buyers ask me for funding, you can even put in your email, we provide hard money loans. I will refer them to you. Can you give me a proof of funds letter? Oftentimes they will. But here's the thing. If you call one person, one hard money lender, they might not. And then you're going to be like, this doesn't work. Call 10. 9 of them will say no. 1 of them will say yes. And then you have a proof of funds letter that you can use probably indefinitely. So those are just some ways to kind of get around the proof of funds letter piece. Again, in this particular deal, I have the funds available, so I'm able to show it. So that's probably the one advantage I might have over a lot of beginners watching this. But again, there are ways around that. So let's go ahead and jump back in. All right, so after our call, you can see that there were some issues with the property, and so my offer is actually going to be less than the initial offer. But that's another thing that I was telling you guys, or that I always say, is that you can start a little bit high. And even though I start at 135, that's just something that opened the door to get the ball rolling. Sometimes I make slightly, don't go make stupid offers, but you can offer slightly higher just to be competitive, just to let the buyer know that you are serious, the seller, know that you're serious, just to beat out the competition. And then once you either open the door or get the conversation going or get the contract accepted, then you can do more due diligence and keep working your negotiations. You can negotiate right up until the day of closing, right? So, hi, Michael. I've reviewed the offer. Below in blue italics are the changes that need to be made. And also lead-based paint, blah, blah, blah. I can make the changes, send them back for signature. So the offer is going to be $115,000 now. It's like, like $20,000 less than my initial. It's a cash offer. Earnest money deposit, I initially put $1,000. They wanted to increase that to $5,000. Now, I went ahead and did that because that's not a problem for me. But if you don't have $5,000, one thing that you can do, remember, these are just what they're asking for. They can ask for anything and you can always counter. So one thing that I often tell my students who don't have maybe the earnest money, you can say something like, we're looking at a lot of different properties. I don't want to have earnest money all over the place on 20 different properties. So here's what we'll do. I'll give you $1,000 earnest money deposit, and then we'll do $4,000 additional deposit after inspections complete. So what that would look like is if we go back to our contract here, see it says 1,000 is the initial deposit, and then the additional deposit you can put 4,000 right here. And the reason that's cool is because you can see if left blank 10 days after effective date. So if you're assigning the contract, it basically means that you're not going to be responsible for this. You can make sure that your end buyer goes ahead and puts that money up. Similarly, I've had situations. I had a student last week, similar situation. They wanted $10,000. Well, he did the same thing. Okay, $1,000 initial deposit, an additional $9,000 after inspection period. What does that really translate to? We'll put up the 10 after the cash buyer has gone in and inspected the property, and then they'll put up the 10, which is exactly what happened. All right, so next, within 30 days, okay, so there's some probate stuff going on here. Again, this is not something that as a wholesaler you need to be worried about. You'll see, I just kind of kick back and relax and let the courts kind of do their thing. And then another thing is, anytime I give a concession where we're negotiating, I ask for something. I ask for something in advance. So here it is. Assignability, may assign and thereby be released. So they wanted me to change it to may assign but not be released. Another thing, and another reason why I always tell my students to control the paperwork is, number one, when you control the paperwork and you fill everything out and then you just give it to the seller, it makes it much harder for them to try to negotiate and nitpick at everything. I had a student recently. He still kind of does this, but the seller will tell him their terms. He sends the offer, the contract, and the seller, or if it's one of these deals, will give him a counter offer, and then he'll write out in an email, well, this is what I can do, this is the most I can do, blah blah blah. Tell me if this would work. And I keep telling him, stop writing that in emails and negotiating, because basically you're more or less asking for permission. You're basically opening the door for them to say nah, and then this is how we want it. Whereas if you just filled out, you say you got the counter, okay, you fill out the contract and say, okay, this is what I can do, and send it to them, it's a lot more likely that they're going to go ahead and sign that contract and not give you shit. Another thing is that everything in your contract. Sometimes there are times where sellers or even realtors or whoever, they might, match the font and add additional terms in there, and just write it on the contract. If you sign it, you're responsible for it. Now, the other reason I mentioned that right here, it reminded me is one thing I'll do, let's say sometimes I send an offer out, I send it not assignable, and then we go through some back and forth. Maybe we counter, maybe it's executed, and then we want to do some type of revision, or maybe it's before that point. It doesn't really matter. The point is, the point is, if we're going to do a counter offer and I make a concession to the seller, let's say instead of $1,000 earnest money, they want $2,000, or they say higher offer price, whatever it is, I'll say, sure, no problem. If it's something I agree to, let me rewrite up the terms and send it to you. And what I'll do is I'll write the new updated terms with what they want, but then maybe instead of that, leaving the box checked that said not assignable, I'll check the box that said assignable. Now, most times, a lot of sellers, and you'd be surprised how many, and sometimes it goes over the head of real estate agents as well, they're only on the lookout for that one change. So they might get the contract, kind of skim through it and say, okay, he increased the purchase price, we're good to sign, and sign a new contract, not realizing that I made the switch to assignment, to be assignable. Now, in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with that. You should always be signing and, reading through absolutely everything that you sign. And, I changed that term because, I was giving something, but I don't mention it. I don't say it. And if they mention it, then we can have that discussion. But that's just another something I do. All right. We talked about this on the phone call. Buyer will accept property with permit and violation issues and fines related to such permit and violation issues. I'll show you on the updated version of the contract. There's a certain way that you need to put this verbiage, but more or less you just want to be very, very specific. You can never say something like, hey, I'll take it with permits and violations, because you don't know. Even if the seller says, hey, these are the permits and violations, and they give you a list of 3 things, and you say, okay, I'll take it with permits and violations, and then you sign. Well, when you go to the title company and they run, let's say, the lien search, and 10 things come back, you sign, so you're now responsible. So the way that you really want to do it is that you want to specify, say, okay, I'll be responsible for those 3 permit violations or whatever, and then on your contract you say, I'm responsible for permit file number this, that, and that. So that's why you want to do that. And then next, they want it only in calendar days. All right, cool. Looks like a good deal. I'm pretty sure I can sell that. Contract is contingent upon probate court approval, and contract closed no sooner than 30 days. So basically, that just means I don't have any work to do. I'm just kind of letting the probate court do their thing, and then when everything is clear, they'll let me know, and then bam, we can move forward. All right, so let's go ahead and fast forward. Let me dive through some emails and see which one was next in our communication. Okay, so the next spot in our journey here is to get an executed purchase and sales agreement. So the agent here actually via electronic signature resent the contract to me with the terms that we had talked about, basically that I just showed you that were in blue, $5,000 earnest money deposit, stuff like that. Everything looked good except when we get to the additional terms. It said buyer will accept property with permit and violation issues and finds liens related to such permit and violation issues. So again, that's where I had to go back to her and say, hey, that's not going to work because I need that to be a lot more specific. So she went ahead and we added an addendum on. This is how the addendum looked. And you can see this is a lot more specific. Buyer will accept property with City of Lake Worth permit violation issues, case number, and it gives all the case information. All other terms shall remain. So the next thing I did is, okay, cool. So this one says, hi, this is from me. Attached, please find the addendum. In the original addendum, the one that she said, it said, this is what I wrote. It says all other terms shall remain since the contract says buyer will accept with existing liens. It leaves some ambiguity, essentially, specifying those liens but can be interpreted as still accepting any others. I just want to make certain that we're clear is basically what I'm saying. So I basically downloaded her addendum, rewrote it to my specifications that were good for me, and then signed it and sent it over. And then all she says is basically that she'll have the seller's attorney take a look and review, and then if it's not a problem, they'll send it to her for signature, which she did. The other thing that I got after that is just the information specifically on, or got before that was the information specifically on those liens. So you can see here, areas free of, they got fined basically for having trash on the property, for landscaping, and having to clean and paint all awnings on the structure. Now, those things were accruing daily, which is why we mentioned in the phone call the fines were kind of pricey. The thing with that is, unless it's something like sometimes the city, and again, this is by municipality, so there's no standard of how much of a price reduction you can get for fines. But typically, if it costs the city money or if it's a hazard, they're typically less likely to give you these big discounts. However, with something like this, trash and landscaping, it's in the city's best interest to clean that up. So let's say you had fines accruing at $100 a day. It doesn't seem like much, but after, let's say, a couple years, it can add up pretty significantly. So let's say you were going to purchase a house and there's $100,000 worth of fines as a wholesaler. But you basically go to the city and say, listen, all these fines on the property, it's not for anything dangerous. You guys didn't go out and board it up. It hasn't really cost you any money. It's been accruing every day. I didn't make I didn't mess the property up. I didn't wreck it. It's an eyesore. It's bringing down the prices in the market, in the neighborhood, right? Making all the other properties look bad. I'll go in, I'll fix it up, I'll take care of it, but I need a price reduction. And a lot of times with stuff like this that's accruing daily, landscape and stuff like that, they'll reduce it pretty significantly, typically to a minimum of about 10%. That makes it very good for you as a wholesaler, because a lot of investors or wholesalers, and particularly new wholesalers who aren't familiar with this, they see these type of things and like, oh, violations, permits, like I don't want to mess with it. But this is just another area. Remember, where you solve problems is where you can make your money. And so a lot of investors also like this because they know, and as a wholesaler, you can do this as well. You can use the large number, let's say it was 100,000, to say to the seller, hey, 100,000, I don't know, maybe they'll reduce it, but maybe they won't. And I got to go down. I'm going to have to go down to City Hall, do all this stuff. I'll take it, but you're going to have to give me a little bit better of a deal, right? Give me a little discount there. And the reason investors like that too, and while they'll agree to stuff like this, is because they know they can maybe use that, again, use that as a negotiating tactic to maybe get the seller to fall down, I don't know, maybe $50,000 off the purchase price. Maybe not that much, but a significant amount, and then they can go into City Hall and clear this stuff up for maybe $2,000 or whatever. So that's just another reason why you do want certain types of liens and violations, and sometimes, yeah, delays closing and things like that. But again, where the problems are, you see this one has these violations. It's a probate. It's a pain in the ass. But once you work through it, and you can see there's very little work that I'm doing. I'm just more or less playing the waiting game. Now, the reason you also want to have these and have as much information, a lot of students ask me, should I say yes to this or that? I'm like, just it's not really up to you at the end of the day, right? It's up to the end buyer. But what we can do is get the most information to present to them. So when a buyer asks me, hey, what are the liens on this thing? What are the violations? If I say, well, I don't know, there's some. Well, yeah, a lot of buyers will do their due diligence and go and find out, especially if they're very interested. But it makes me a better wholesaler, makes me better at what I do if I can say, yeah, sure, let me go ahead and send you the lien report. Or, yeah, this is exactly what it is. It's this, this, this. And the more information that I can convey to my buyers, the more likely I am to sell the deal, the more they want to work with me, the easier I make that process on them. All right, so we got that. We got the addendum signed. Again, I sent it with the changes just to make sure it's crystal clear that we're only paying for this stuff. And then let's go do some email searching and see what our next steps are. Okay, so again, next step is actually this agent went ahead and sent and communicated directly with the title company. That doesn't always happen. She's also very diligent, very good at her job. So she just kind of reached out to them and said, here's the contract, the property's in probate, telling them what's going on. The contract's assignable. I believe you guys worked with Mr. Hill before, blah, blah, blah. She's just giving them some background information. And then again, that's with my title company, Independence Title. Shout out. They're in Fort Lauderdale. If you're closing properties anywhere in Florida, these guys always have my back. They keep me very informed as to what's going on. And so that's the other part with the wholesale deal. You can see there are multiple things in motion. There are the lien issues. There's the probate issue. Now Independence Title is going to be running title, doing the title work and all that good stuff. And basically all I'm doing is sitting back and waiting, man. Like I'm on to the next one. I'm making other offers while all this is happening. This is all going on kind of behind the scenes, or other people are doing it for you. So a lot of questions I might get, like what's specifically happening at the title company and blah, blah, blah. Like students, especially their first deals, they're very worried and asking. It's good to ask those questions, but a lot of it, especially when you have a title company you can trust, it's like, dude, they'll get back to you when the title's ready. Just let them do what they do. All right, so that was the next one. And again, I'm digging through emails and pulling out all the pertinent stuff. So let's see what we got going on next. Okay, so now that I have the executed contract, the next thing I'm going to do is start advertising this to my buyers. So again, I've been building my buyers list since 2012. It's something that you can kind of never have enough buyers. So something I'm consistently doing. So this is the email that went out. I think this went out, March 12th. So I just put out the new deal, just put a little bit of information about it. So there it is, the asking price. We were buying at $115. The asking price was $129.9. I always put just a brief description here, just basically letting investors know the basics. And typically in these emails, I don't use very flowery language like you might see a lot of realtors do. Welcome to your dream home. A lot of my investors will know how many beds, baths, square footage, repairs needed, stuff like that. So it's pretty direct and to the point. And then I'll typically throw in the comps. I'll put the comps, but I usually don't say what I think the property is necessarily worth, because, again, that's up to the investor. And sometimes you can be shooting yourself in the foot. They need to come to that conclusion on their own anyway. So, again, they're actually pretty good comps here. And there are just some pictures of the property there. All right, so the next thing I did actually is went to the property. I got a couple calls for some appointments. So I went out to the property to meet them. The property is on lockbox. I was able to get inside of there. And then while I was there, not only did I show it to a couple of investors, but I took that opportunity to, pull out my phone and do a video walkthrough and create a Facebook advertisement. I was able to narrow an audience of cash buyers, which I'll be talking about in future videos. but also, again, my list is pretty large. So I sent this email out, got a couple prospects who were interested, invited them all to come at the exact same time. So that way, we create a little bit of competition there. And then I did a walkthrough of the property and turned into a Facebook ad and put that on social media as well as, a paid advertisement. And so we'll go ahead and jump into that ad and I'll show you what that looks like right now. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Mike Hill, the Wholesaling Titan here, and I want to share with you my latest wholesale deal, take you on a quick walkthrough. We're in downtown Lake Worth. So we are just east of I-95 and a little bit north of 10th Avenue. Not too far away from Lake Avenue. We got all, shops and restaurants, good stuff like that. And of course, just a few minutes to the beach. So I'll just show you really quickly. It's actually a very nice block. And we got the property behind me. This is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. I have it at a wholesale price of $129,000. Done properly, I think this thing will sell for $230,000. That's based on the comps in the area. All those comps are 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, similar square footage, and built in the 1950s. So let's go ahead and walk up to the property. Again, this is a concrete block property. So let's just go ahead and take a look. The first thing I want to point out, carport here. This can be converted into a 3rd bedroom. If you take a look, we'll look in the storage space here. It is all concrete block. For here, if you look at the woodwork here, it looks like the roof is pretty good. No signs of any type of leaks or anything like that. Next, let's take a walk inside the property. Now what we have going on here, looks like there was maybe some hoarding or something. So there's a lot of stuff, a lot of trash in this property. But the bones and structure looks very, very good. So just to give you a quick look around there. Got some kind of cool stonework on the counter. We've got tile floors. You can see no signs of cracking, leakage, or anything like that. So the ceiling looks very good. Got some brick on the wall over there. Kitchen here, we've got this tile backsplash, cabinets that you may or may not want to change out. Drop ceiling, I'd probably rip that out. You can probably take out, replace appliances, get stuff like that. And we'll take a walk now to the 1st bedroom here. All right. And again, everything looks good with the ceiling. So look at that. All right, and we'll keep going around this way. All right, this is a pitch roof, so there's some attic space up there. Bathroom actually looks pretty well done. Tile looks very good. You can also see that it's the shower is all tiled there. Pedestal sink. And then the 2nd bedroom here. Again, everything looks good with the walls. Probably just throw a little paint on there, but no plastering or anything like that needed. And now I'd like to show you my favorite part of the property, which I didn't realize when I first walked up. It's actually quite a large lot. So this thing sits on over 6,000 square feet. So if we take a look here, you can see that the property goes way back. We got some trees, a nice stone path cut out here, and walking into some spider webs. Maybe some kind of fire pit or something like that. You can see it goes way back there. Nice fence yard as well. And, a lot of potential. You could probably even drop a little pool in here. I was being a little bit nosy and saw it's exactly what our neighbors did. So I'm going to be a little bit obnoxious and peek over this fence. So there we are there. Hopefully you can see what that looks like. Okay, so if you are interested in this property, do give me a call. You can reach me by phone or text at 561-444-8470. Likewise, you can also shoot me an email, mike@investingwithmike.com. And for more of the best wholesale deals here in South Florida, visit my website at www.investingwithmike.com. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to hear from you soon. Take care. Well, thank you for joining me on that brief tour of my latest wholesale deal. Now, if you're an investor looking for real estate deals here in South Florida, what I'd like to do now is invite you to go ahead and give me a call. I am a full-time wholesaler. I've been doing this since 2012, and I'm constantly looking for the best real estate investment deals. So I do a ton of marketing. I have bandit signs out. I do direct mail marketing, online ads, always just in search of the latest and greatest deal. So I'd love to hear from you. I'd like to hear maybe you're looking for a rental, or maybe you're looking for a rehab. whatever your investment needs are, maybe like a certain area, certain zip code, price, budget. If we could have that conversation, what I can then do is tailor my marketing specifically to what you're looking for, and at that point be a lot more efficient and a lot more mutually beneficial for the both of us. So whether you're an experienced investor or maybe you just haven't even started your investing journey, it doesn't really matter. I'd love to still speak with you and see how I could best serve you. So again, my phone number, 561-444-8470. That is my direct line, so give it a call. You'll be speaking directly to me. And again, just see how I could help you out with all of your investment needs. In addition, I've got an extensive network, a lot of connections here. So if you need anything else, perhaps, hard money, any type of loan, private money, maybe if you need a crew, some rehabbers, I can make some recommendations, anything like that, I'd be happy to help you out. Let's have a talk and see how I can best serve you. So again, give me a call, and I really look forward to helping you out with all of your real estate investing needs. Again, this is Mike Hill, the Wholesaling Titan. I look forward to hearing from you soon. Thanks. All right, so you'll notice with that video, it's basically an advertisement. Nothing fancy. I'm basically just holding my phone. I want to give my buyers as much information as possible. So, you show them everything. The more information you get to your buyers, the better that you can sell the deals, right? So I actually got the buyer during that walkthrough, so there's really no need for the ad, but it's also good to always have backups because you never know, buyers can fall out of contract, they can change your mind. In addition, you might get a higher offer, you might start a little bit of a bidding war and be able to get more than your asking price. And then also realize that your ads, when you're advertising a property, do not exist in a vacuum. So a lot of times I have students say, I sent an ad and I didn't get, the buyer didn't want it or whatever. But your ads, once you make them, you put them out there, they still exist. They're still on Craigslist. They're still on Bigger Pockets, My House Deals. So you want to always keep your contact information. And that's why at the end, I'm turning it into a commercial, not just for this specific property, but also for my brand, and really trying to start that communication going. And so when you do something like that, remember that you're going to get buyers who call you or go to your website, and they might not buy that property. They might not buy something for you for another week or another 6 months or another year. But remember that that advertisement is there for your business, so you can use it. And it's not in vain is what I'm saying if they don't buy this property, because they might buy something from you further down the line. Just make sure that when the buyer does call you, that you capture their obviously contact information, their name, their email address, put it on your list, get their phone number, talk to them about what they want, qualify them a little bit, ask them. I like to ask kind of obnoxious questions, but just to really make sure that they're legit. How many properties have you bought? Do you pay cash, or are you looking to pay hard money? What areas do you like? What zip codes? How many properties do you have? Do you want to flip it or do you want to hold it? And I get very detailed. I say, if I find this exact property for you, would you be willing to, can you, and are you willing and able to buy it this week? And then the other cool thing, I did put this advertisement on just, Facebook and, just my social media, just organically, just posted. But I used it, again, as a Facebook ad. And I'm still kind of new to this thing, so I played around with some Facebook ads. Maybe you might have seen some ads where I'm like showing you my ebook or something like that. But it's something that I'm actually starting to use and allocate some marketing dollars for finding buyers and sellers as well. So you can see here, I put it out there. And again, I got the buyer not from here, but I start off very, very conservatively, still trying to figure out Facebook's, algorithms and how all that stuff works. And you'll see here, I think I ran this for maybe like just a couple of days, and I started with $10 a day. And you can see here, I got 145 clicks, 2,504 impressions, and that's only 34 cents per link click. And yeah, it was 5 days, so I only spent $50 on that. And then so from there, I also have the pixel on my page, and you can see that a lot of those buyers who saw this ad also went to my website and signed up and are now on my buyers list. So those people might be buying deals from me in the future as well. All right, so let's see what we got next in this wholesale deal process. All right, so home stretch now. We're about to wrap and see how everything worked out. So first off, I want to recap. Let's look back at this email from the listing agent. This is the one she sent the title company. So you can see here the effective date of the contract is 3/8. You can see I did the open house on 3/12, and it's during that open house that the buyers committed. So within 4 days, the assignment fee is $10,000. So that's how we get to $10,000 in 4 days. Now, of course, we didn't close in 4 days because title company has to run title and pull the lien search. And again, it's a probate property. But you'll see here, I do have the HUD statement, so you'll see that this property closed, the settlement date 4/5, so just a little bit over 3 weeks, which is really not bad, especially considering we had some probate stuff going on, which can take some time to clear up sometimes. You'll see the contract sales price is $115,000. So in some cases, my assignment fee will be on the HUD. In this one, it is not. The buyer wired it directly to my business account, and the reason being, or partial reason being, is that I actually sold this deal to family. And so I wasn't sure if I was going to say that, if it's worth saying, because I know some people might act that, like, for some reason that's invalidates the deal. But I do want to keep it very transparent with you guys. And, you know, I know that people are going to say, well, you have family that buy real estate or something like that. And I'd say a couple things to that. First off, we did have multiple offers on this deal. I have one example pulled up here. So this is from another wholesaler, Camilo. He's a wholesaler down here in South Florida. Shout out, man. And I don't mind shouting him out because I know he's a good dude. Is actually in the business, is a good guy, and I believe a lot more in collaboration than any type of competition. So his buyers was one of the initial 4 that showed up at the property. You'll see they sent an offer of 127. And they'll take it with the liens. Now, my offer is 125, which is actually less. But remember, when you're dealing with someone else, then you have to split the fee, or split your assignment fee. So it's in my best interest to go with 125. But I just let them know, I gotta entertain this other offer. But if something happens, I will hit you up and let you know. Also, I had a backup offer from a buddy of mine named Jim, and then 2 other very strong inquiries who were ready to make an offer. And again, this is after 4 days with very minimal marketing. So again, there are buyers out there is the point I'm making. But just to go back to the family thing, this is a concept I took straight out of the Uncle G playbook, something I learned from Grant Cardone, because I grew up always hearing that you don't mix family and friends in business. And I'm sure many of you have heard that before. Grant has the complete opposite notion, and I've really bought into it, especially as of recently. But you should absolutely be tapping your network, especially those closest to you, especially family and friends, especially in this business. I'm sure there are certain businesses and types of scenarios where maybe that's not appropriate. But in this type of business, it's like, listen, you're either helping someone out of a bad situation or you're making somebody else money. So you should absolutely be networking with family and friends. You just don't know who needs what or who knows who. You might have a family member who is very good friends with someone who wants to get into real estate investing, or you might have a friend who knows someone who desperately needs to sell a house. Like, who else would you rather be helping? And so, yes, of course, I made money off of this deal. I made $10,000, but the buyer will make, after rehab, probably between $60 and maybe even $90,000. So who's to say, why would I not give that opportunity to family? And so even like my parents, for example, had like rental properties in New York, but I've dragged them to some RIA meetings and stuff like that. And so now they're seeing some other sides of investing and doing like rehabbing and fixing and flipping. And so I now sold multiple wholesale deals to my mom and dad. I have sold multiple houses to my aunt. I have sold a wholesale property to my uncle. And recently, my grandmother was actually involved as a private lender and made a little bit of money on the deal that way as well. So again, I'm gonna take a little bit of credit for that. But again, it's just great to see the whole family kind of coming up together. And something like, I guess I just wanted to mention to you guys. Also, another very important thing that I wanted to mention is that I'm going to be doing a lot more stuff on live. What I'm finding is a lot of the questions and comments and stuff that I'm getting, they'd be well suited where I could answer them very quickly, pick up my phone and just answer them on a quick video, but don't necessarily warrant a large YouTube video. So if you guys want to just ask me your questions and comments, that's probably going to be the best way to do it going forward. It's a little bit faster for me to respond and stuff like that. The best place to hit me is probably on Instagram. So my IG is Mike Hill TWT. Again, that's at Mike Hill TWT. Feel free to slide up in those DMs. I'll also be on Facebook. And if it's a question a lot of people have, then we'll put it up on the YouTube channel. But yeah, definitely hit me up on that social media. I'm really looking forward to your questions and comments there. Matter of fact, I wanted to share something with you. Speaking of social media, and this is a post that it's kind of a testimonial that a student of mine sent me. and I think it's beautiful and embodies everything I kind of love about this business. We've had very good, actually, in terms of students. I had, within the last maybe 5 weeks or so, 3 students do their very first deals. This guy I'm about to read you here is about to do his second deal, and I have another student with something very strong on the contract, and it looks like we'll be doing his first deal as well. So anyway, on this note, it sent me this message, this text. It says, Mike, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. This completed deal is worth like $1 million to me. I've been going through financial turmoil, and with this accomplishment, I feel like I can conquer the world, which I will. I just want to say hats off to you. You're the truth. I appreciate everything you've done and will do for me. I owe you big time. You have helped 6 other human beings. My wife and 5 kids have a future to a better quality of life. I'm so happy I decided to go with you as a mentor. God is good. He told me to go with you, honestly. The best I've spent in my life. Thanks again, brother. Cheers. And I just want to read that to you because this business truly can be life changing. And so I wanted to encourage you all, if you are, starting, or you started and it's not working out yet, or you're getting discouraged, or you're getting a lot of no's, realize that's a part of the process. It just means you're one step closer. Just the biggest advice I could give you is do not stop. Just make more offers. Everything you offer, and I'll call them back, follow up, talk to people, network. Just keep going. I love this, especially because this student has kids, and you're impacting multiple people, really. And that was my same experience. A lot of you probably know my story by now, but got here in 2012, nothing, no job, no house, no car, and by chance I found this business and started working at it, and it's just given me the most amazing life I could imagine. I have a financial abundance, financial freedom, and more than just money to provide for myself and my family and my daughter is the flexibility in life. I can really do the things that I love. I work when I want, where I want. Most of my work is done remote. I drop my daughter off at school. I pick her up every day. We spend time together. We do our extracurriculars, and that's just the type of life that this business can give to you. On that note, if you are interested, I mentioned earlier, in joining our mentoring program, I'm going to put a link in the description. You can check it out. Again, it'll just show you everything that the program includes and how it works. You also see a couple more testimonials and stuff like that. I'm sure I'll be posting more of that on my social media coming up. But you'll see exactly how everything works, and how it's not just mentoring specifically is not just a course. It's something where you're working with me. Because I do this myself personally, it does get full from time to time, and I close it down. So if you are interested, definitely take a look at that link. Also, if you're not maybe ready for mentoring or something like that, and you're just interested in learning more, do check out my website, www.wholesalingmike.com. I've got additional downloads, some free videos, again, free contracts and downloads, stuff like that, some free ebooks, and just a wealth of resources that you can use if you're really just trying to get started and learn the business, as well as like my digital program and some good stuff on there with some really good information that can help you out quite a bit. So on that note, guys, I know this was like a longer video, and I'm sure that there's some things that maybe just went over my head. Maybe I didn't explain well, or went over your head, or maybe I just spoke too fast and kind of breezed through it or something. So if you do have questions and comments, definitely add those to the comment section. I'll be happy to take a look and try to provide some clarity where I can for you. But on that note, really, thank you so much for watching this video, for supporting the channel. If you're not already subscribed, please do so. It does help the channel out a great deal, and make sure to hit the bell notification so you get notified when I have new videos out. If you like this format, also please leave me that feedback. I'd be happy to do more case study style videos. There'll be more of those exclusively in my digital program, and again in my mentoring program, but I'd be happy to put a couple of here on the public site if that's what you guys want. Matter of fact, we can do the testimonial I just read. We can probably do a case study on that, just because it's another no money down deal, and that was a JV deal that we did. I can also show you guys some paid stuff. You want to see some direct mail marketing stuff, some calls with me on the phone directly with sellers. It sounds a little bit different than when you're dealing with agents. So yeah, all that stuff, just let me know, and I'd be happy to put some more stuff out here. But again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Very much appreciate your support, and I will see you hopefully up in my DMs, but also on the next video. So thanks again, guys, and I'll talk to you next time. Peace.